Okay, this is part 2 of why what Mitch McConnell says we tax too little is wrong. I got over here to Nixon Ford here, and I was describing the taxes here, and I'm going to pick up where I left off. During the 8 years they were in office, the national debt here increased 70.6%, and debt to GDP here was reduced from 42 down here to 36. It was below, 40 is a very good range. Excellent. Okay. Now I'm going to move forward to Carter. The top income tax here on unearned income was 70% during this period. The maximum tax on earned income, meaning money that you work for, was 50%. Now, there was a tax change here, the Revenue Act of 1978. What that did is reduced the corporate tax here from 48 down to 46. There was one more change here. The minimum 50% tax on the 50% long-term capital gains that was excluded, that was eliminated. And the 50% exclusion was increased to 60%. And that reduced the long-term capital gains here from 39.875 all the way down here to 28%. Now, there was no other major changes in the tax code while Carter was in office. And during the 4 years that he was in office, the national debt down here increased 44.7%. Now that's quite high for 4 years. And the reason for that is inflation. Back here in 1973, there was an Arab oil embargo, and later there was the Iranian Revolution, and the war between Iraq and Iran, and the price of a barrel of oil increased from over here from less than $4 a barrel all the way up here to over $37 a barrel. And inflation increased. It was 6% right here. It increased over here all the way to 14%. So, but debt to GDP here was stabilized down here under 40. It was 36, 35, down here to 33. Now 33 right here percent is the lowest since World War II. So we're in good shape until we get to Reagan. Tight money to combat inflation and high interest triggered a recession here. And Reagan Congress passed the Economic Recovery Tax Act of 1981 here. What that did is reduce this top 70% here tax on unearned income here. It reduced it all the way down here to 50. The maximum rate here on earned income stayed the same at 50%. Now what this also did is reduce the long-term capital gains tax here from 28 down here to 20%. One more change in this tax act. It lowered the capital gains tax here, which was 70%, down to 65 to 60 and 55. Now there's one more change in the tax code here, major change. Tax Reform Act of 1986. And what that did is lower the top income tax rate here at 50%, down to 38.50%, all the way down here to 28. And in this same bill here, it reduced the lower 11% tax rate to 15. So now we have two tax rates. And what this did right here also is raise the capital gains tax here from 20 back up to 28. Now, there is no such thing as long-term, short-term capital gains. Capital gains here are taxed equal with income, 28%. Now, one more change. The corporate tax here was 46%. It was lowered to 40, down here to 34. Those are major changes in the tax code. Now, Reagan here assumed that by cutting taxes, it would stimulate the economy, produce more tax revenue, and would balance the budget. But that didn't happen. There was a steep rise here in the deficits here. And Reagan said this was the biggest disappointment of his life, these deficits. Now, to reduce these deficits, Reagan also raised other taxes. He increased the gasoline tax. He increased the excise tax on cigarettes, alcohol, and telephone services. He increased the tax on Social Security benefits if your income exceeded a certain level. He eliminated the interest deduction on loans to buy consumer goods, except for houses. He also taxed railroad pension benefits. And he eliminated certain business loopholes and tax shelters. Now, in addition to that, to reduce these deficits here, he targeted reductions in certain social programs, or such as food stamps, child nutrition, subsidized housing, job training programs, unemployment benefits, grants to colleges. We still cannot balance the budget. Now, the economy here did recover, and the unemployment rate was reduced, but with a big price. During his 8 years in office here, the national debt here, look at it, increased 186.1%. Now, that's a lot. Now, debt to GDP rose from its lowest point down here from 33 all the way, it shot all the way up here to 51.9. So now we're headed up instead of down. We're not paying for government expenses. Okay, I think that completes that. We're going to go over here to George H. Walker Bush, that's senior. And there was a spike in deficits here. The Reagan tax rate here, 28%, the top rate here, was not near enough to pay for government expenses. The corporate tax here was 34, where Reagan put it, also down from 46 here. And Congress passed the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1990. Here again, the Democrats control both houses. And they added one more tax rate to the tax tables, income, 31%. Now we have three tax rates, the 15, the 28, and the 31. Capital gains remained at 28%. Now that was the only major change. during this period. And look here, 4 years, Bush is in office, the national debt increases 53.8%. Now that's high. And debt to GDP, the percentage, 51 here, 0.9, rose all the way up here to 64%. Okay, I'm going to move over here to Clinton. Because of the huge spike here in deficits here, the last year that Bush was in office, the national deficit was $290 billion, and that's a U.S. record. So Congress passed the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1993, and again here, Congress both houses are controlled by Democrats. In that, what that bill did here is add two more income tax rates. It was the 36 and the 39.6, and it raised the corporate tax here from 34 to 35. Now there's one more tax change here. The Taxpayers Relief Act here of 1997, and here Republicans control both houses. And they increased the estate tax exemption here from $600,000 to $625,000 to $650,000 to $675,000. And they reduced the capital gains tax here from 28 all the way down here to 20. Now, during Clinton's 8 years here in office, look at the national debt here only increased 40.6%. That's low. That's less than Bush here in 4 years. Okay. Now he had some help here. From 1955 over here to 2000, there was an internet boom. And debt to GDP rose slightly here to from 64 over here to 67, then it turned down, and down all the way here to 57. So now we're reducing our debt. I'm going to move over here to George Bush. The first year in office, he passes one of the biggest tax cuts in U.S. history. $1.35 trillion. It was called the Tax Growth and Tax Relief Reconciliation Act of 2011. And what that did is reduce the four top tax rates that were put in place here: the 39.6 to 35, the 36 to 33, the 31 to 28, the 28 to 25. Now that was done in installments or stages to be completed over here by 2006. You see here the first year here, 39.6 was reduced down here to 38.6. Okay. Now what else happened here is that the top estate tax here, which was 55% here for a long time, that was reduced to 50 to 49 to 48 to 47, 46, 45. And that increased the exemption from 675 to 1 million to 1.5 million to 2 million to 3.5 million, and that was double for married couples. The annual gift exemption was increased to 11,000 over here to 12,000. Now this tax cut, okay, I just got a signal, my time is up, and this is the end of part 2. I will complete this in the next section, next part. Thank you.